Okay, let's start Perek Chamishi, Devorah. Hashem moving right along. At the rate we're going, Hashem will be finished all Devorah in approximately another 2 years. But we spent a long time, Perek Rabbi, on the midah of Bina, and Bina, for our purposes, is the last of the spheres Hanalamais. Chesed, Chachma, Bina. I say for our purposes because there's another way, as we explained, of looking at it as Chachma, Bina, Vadas, but we finished that also. And that's not what the Talmud Devorah is working on. He's working on these higher spheres, Chesed, Chachma, Bina. These were very difficult spheros to emulate because we don't know what they are. But Baruch Hashem, I think we came to some kind of an understanding, however superficial it may be, of what Bina is. And Bina is tshuva, and Bina is just very, very short for the purpose of going further. The difference between the higher spheros and the world in which we live in, which is the seven spheros, is that in this world everything is all sorted out. So this world starts with Bereshis bara Elokim hashamayim v'haaretz. That's where this world starts. So in this world, there's Or, there's Choshech, there's Mayim, there's Yavesh, there's men, there's women. There's all kinds of divisions that are here. Those divisions do not exist in the higher worlds, which in itself is a tremendous lesson, that you can get back to a place where it's a mixture. Everything is all one, and then reset and restart. But now we're dealing in the divisions itself, and the divisions, as you know, are the seven spheros. We're all expert in them because we just went through Spheros Omer, and so we have Chesed, Devorah, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and then ultimately Malchus. And that's how the world is created in the sorted out world that we're in. So view it as like here's HaKadosh Baruch Hu shining this big Or. I'm just using this as a mashal because the Zohar uses it as a mashal, as an Or which is going through these seven prisms. So it's not that it's in chronological order. First comes Chesed, then comes Devorah. That's not the way it works. It works that it's all there at one time. Now, because of where we are in the world that we live in, it's like looking at a rainbow. You can see the distillation of the light and the filtration of the light into its finest breakdown, which is seven different colors. There are seven colors in a rainbow. So we're looking at Chesed, Devorah, Tiferes. By the way, each one of these spheres even has a color. Has these colors in Kabbalistic language are called Gavonim. Gavonim means color. So it's what? What are the colors?
It's not the colors of the rainbow.
It is, yeah.
Roy Gibir.
Do you know the colors of the rainbow?
Roy Gibir. Roy Gibir.
Red.
Red, orange, yellow. Green, blue.
Roy, red, orange, yellow, green,
Blue, indigo, violet.
Indigo violet. No magenta in there. Some new color's been invented since then. Shows that we're getting closer to Mashiach. Okay, so now we're in the seven spheros. So we're now right in the world. And by the way, from a practical point of view, and this all gets much more practical, less esoteric, it could be this Perek Chamishi might be the most important thing that the Talmud Devorah is ever going to teach us, practically. And that is Ketzad Yargil Ha'adam Atzmai B'midas HaChesed. So we're talking about the first color of the rainbow, the first sphera of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we know about is the sphera of Chesed. Not talking about our Chesed, it's talking about Hashem's Chesed. That Hashem extended his boundaries, if you will, from the world, from the higher spheros into this world. He extended his boundaries, which is really the world of Tzimtzum, because to take something which is infinite, Ein Sof, and to bring it into a world of self is tremendous Chesed. Chesed, again, all these words, forget about the way we usually translate this act of kindness. It's not about kindness. It's about the extension of boundaries. It's about taking the focus off oneself and putting it out there. So that's what Chesed is. Chesed means out. Kindness is just a small part. Doing a guy a favor. That's just like a small part of Chesed. But Chesed, it's very important to understand, means the extension of the boundary. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to go from your infinite stage and putting it into the infinite would be like us getting on the ground and playing with the ants. It's not even fun. It's not even fun. It's just it's the ultimate chesed. It's the ultimate extension of boundaries. I'm up here and they're down there. My kesher, you step on them. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is olam chesed yibana. So there's an extension into the worlds that are here. So Iker, and here he starts in a very beautiful. Iker knisas ha'adam el soid ha'chesed hu le'oivas Hashem tachlis ava. Let's make a comma there. Knisas ha'adam el soid ha'chesed. The person's entry into the secret of chesed. What does that mean? What is he after? And that's why I said, practically speaking, this must be the most important thing that we're ever going to learn. Iker knisas ha'adam el soid ha'chesed. What does it mean? Person's entry into
foundation, the real chesed, as opposed to
not yisoid, soid, secret.
Secret.
What does it mean? It means that how do we become? What is the secret? What is the secret to becoming the complete beneficiary of Hashem's chesed? Means, how do we live? It's not how do we do chesed. It's not about the chesed that Hashem does. How do we get under the light of chesed? No, don't answer. Just try to understand the subject here. So let him do the talking. But I'm just Iker Knisas Ha'adam El Soid HaChesed means, how do you live a life which is full of the chesed Hashem? It couldn't get better than this, because it means to say that, okay, well, I'll make it through Bezos Hashem, this life, but are we going to make it through B'chesed, or are we going to make it through B'din? Is it going to be difficult? Is it going to be easy? So, Haboteach B'Hashem Chesed Yisrael. Like you watch it, Chesed. Chesed is, you come to the bus stop and the bus just comes. Din is, you just missed the bus and got short. That's din. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu could just as easily, we're makabel everything. We're makabel the din. That's Devorah. That's next week. But getting into Chesed, meaning how do we become the beneficiary to stand under the light of Chesed as opposed to standing under the light of din? And it makes it easier for us. It makes it easier in our homes. It makes it easier in Parnassa. It makes it easier with our children. It makes it b'chesed. B'chesed.
What's it called? Knisa.
How do you enter into the world of Chesed? In other words, you as a person.
Now, there's what you're in. It's not like there's stages of.
Right. How do I get into that business class lounge?
You explained previously, though, that you don't always want to ask for that chesed because...
Racham.
Oh, that was Racham, sorry.
Chesed is good.
Not Racham.
So, right. So, can there be anything more important than getting into the Soid HaChesed? Iker Knisas Ha'adam Al Soid HaChesed. How do I get into that place?
just say this.
Does it mean that we have to, it sounds like we have to actually proactively do something, otherwise we won't be part of it.
That is correct. You're not naturally
We're
part of
missing
it.
out. We don't missing out.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to create the world, but did. So your natural default arrangement might be did. You get what you deserve. That's the default. You get what you deserve. To get into Chesed is to have a different type of protection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, you're doing something special for me. What is that Chesed? How do you get under this color and not under that color? How do you get under this light and not under that light? It's all good, but
how do we know, like in the Ross example of the bus, could be by missing the bus that he's being saved from something?
Yeah,
He
it's
doesn't
also
want to.
chesed.
So it's subjective in a way, or something we only know maybe.
Yeah, but like the chesed thing is that you make the bus and it doesn't blow up.
That's ultimate chesed. He made the terrorist miss the bus before, so he get.
Chesed, I mean, like Baruch Hashem, Kodesh Baruch Hu Mefarnes everybody here. Some's easier, some's harder. Some people have to struggle through the months. Some people, it's all good. It's all good. I'm not saying everything has been a shemayim, but chesed is gishmak. Like it just works, like it works. Baruch Hashem. So that's chesed. So how do you do that? How do you get to that? But I better tell you, maybe until we learned this, we didn't know there was any such thing as getting into it. Like we're so used to saying Siddur Kadin that there is such a thing as asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Asay imadi chesed. Ve'emes. Chesed ve'emes. I do agree with you, though, that just because we think something's chesed is not necessarily chesed. Like we did. Like how to define chesed is a different story. But you see, Yaakov Avinu, like he knew Hashem was going to take care of it, but he said, do it with me chesed, right? You'd be begging Lubosh, Lechem Lechol, right? Do Asay imadi chesed. That's... He knew that it says the Gemara, why was he even saying that? Because he figured Sheba Yigreba did. He's going to be working with din. Okay, how do I get over to this sphere? How do I get to the right, not to the left? Good question. And the answer is, how do you do it? Who? Very simple. Le'oives Hashem tachlis ahava. It's by us loving Hashem, by being makayim the mitzvah of Yahavta as Hashem alikecha, v'chol levacha, v'chol nafshecha, v'chol miyadecha. So there, by having that ava, we're zocha to chesed. Not kesher. Well, I say by kissing the mezuzah. Like, what's v'yahavta Hashem l'kecha? What's ava? Besides for the fact that I don't even know what it is, ava. Yeah, but like, why is it kesher? Because it works like this. Chesed means not kindness. Chesed means the extension of boundaries. Ava means the extension of boundaries. If you love your wife or your child, if necessary, you'll give them a kidney. Have. If you'll take away from yourself, you'll give them your food. So that's you don't say, hey, not I like you very much, I love you very much, but this is my food. Right? You don't get all sort of yekish on it. But if you love somebody, like how's it go? Makasa. Sukasa, what's the word?
Mikasa, sukasa.
Sukasa.
Mikasa, sukasa.
Mikasa.
Mikasa, sukasa. My home is your home.
Everybody understand? My home is your home. Mikasa, sukasa. Casa being a home, right? Casa Roma, casa. Yeah. Mikasa, sukasa. So it means to say that my boundary is not here, but my boundary is here. Or here, or there. Ahavas Hashem is a tough one. Ahavas Ishta is a pretty easy one. At least we can think it's easy. But I think we're more concerned about like being loved than we are loving. I think, and I think also, and as I'm saying, well, what we're not talking about. I think that like when we say we love something, a lot of times it's really like we just love ourselves. Like I said, I love going fishing. Okay, it's not that you love going fishing. It's like you enjoy. What you mean to say is you enjoy going fishing. You love is really the wrong word. I mean, from a ideal have, the sport. So you're not really ohev. Or as the Velt says, like if you love fish, why are you eating it? So not to be confused with avas atzmo, but ava is a pushing the envelope, an extension of the border. So, Chesed is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's first manifestation in this world, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu pushed the boundary, if you will, Kivyachal. He pushed the boundary out of the infinite into the finite, and that's HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying, Olam Chesed Yibana, I'm going to do this. Hashem says, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get from the infinite. No matter what the sacrifice is, you're sacrificing Ein Sof to Gvul. But whatever the sacrifice is, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make a world, and I'm going to put myself into that world, so to speak. And that's called Chesed. So how do we get under that direct like hashpah, tremendous amount of hashpah that comes at the moment HaKadosh Baruch Hu bursts into this world? The answer is, v'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha. You push your boundaries, he will push his boundaries onto you. Again, I'm just saying math. So says the Devorah, let's get the words. Iker knisas ha'adam al soida chesed, hu le'oiv es Hashem tachlis ava. And what does that mean? What does it mean? Shlo yaniach avoidasai l'shum siba, that when it comes to avodas Hashem, nothing stops me. Mipnei she'ein davar ne'avetz like klal, because there's nothing that I love more than this. La'erach avasa yisbarach, compared to the av of Hashem. So he's not saying what we think he's saying. He's not saying that. Okay, like first of all, what is Avas Hashem? Like, what is it? What is it? We hardly know what Avas Ishta is, but to Avas Hashem, like, come on. I mean, Kadosh Baruch Hu is very ethereal. I mean, we don't know what he looks like. We don't want to know what he looks like. We don't know we don't know what even, like, what is this force that's making everything happen? We might love what Hashem does. But to love Hashem, to go hug Hashem is a. I mean, I have a feeling that, like, there's a certain fooling ourselves unless we think about it. What's like Avas Hashem, the love of some type of a concept.
Noach must have known what it was, because he was the only one that Hashem kept being kind to. He must have known something.
Okay, and Avraham and Yitzchak and Rabbi Haber. But yes, and us after a few minutes of your Hashem.
The such concept in love is that it doesn't relate to yourself. I mean, how can you love where it's not some kind of hana, for lack of a better definition, on yourself?
So there has to be, right?
It seems like he's setting it up that way. He's setting up, how do you get the chesed from Hashem? That's already an ulterior motive.
Right, so it seems to be okay. So let me throw out this definition here of Ava. Bein adam l'chaveri, bein ish li'ishtoyu, bein adam l'makom. Ava is where I've extended myself, my borders, to a different place, and in spite of myself. Meaning, like, if you vow to love someone, in other words, like, for the moment, I'm not saying there's no such thing, but forget about all of the romanticized ideas of love. Like, this is because that's not what we're talking about. I mean, there's such a thing, but I don't think it's called Ava. It might be called something else. Shlomo Bell speaks about this a lot in Shir Ashir. The whole book is to define love. But love, we're not talking about here like the West Side Story. We're not talking about, like. Am I dating myself?
Yes.
We're not talking about a feeling that I have. Lose the feeling for a minute, and think about, what am I willing to do for somebody else? How far am I willing to go for someone else? What am I willing to give up for somebody else? Forget about the feeling. Forget about that. Like, feeling in love in a vacuum is meaningless. So you're in love. People are in love with movie stars they never met. They just go crazy, So v'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha. Let's define that simple thing. V'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha, b'chol nafshecha, b'chol moedecha, nafshecha, b'chol levavcha, nafshecha, moedecha. That pretty much defines everything. So it means to say you're willing to give up everything. There's all kinds of people in this world. What are you willing to give up? That's Ava. So if you wanted to define your Ava, I may take. If you wanted to find your Ava for your wife, for your children, for Klal Yisrael, for the world, for Hashem, it's defined by what are you willing to give up. It's as simple as that. It's not defined. There's no regesh meter. It's not a romantic idea. I don't think. I'm not saying there isn't such a thing, but I'm saying that regesh is not what we're talking about. What we're talking about, being in love, is being in a situation where I'm willing to give up. Is this a paradigm shift? I mean, this is like a whole different idea, right?
Saying we're going to give up for what is Hashem? What's Hashem? If Hashem is doing chesed to somebody else, it's going to What's Hashem?
So Avodas Hashem is very simple to say. And that is that if I can recognize what my mandate is here in the creation, why I'm here, and I'm a soldier, and what was a soldier? Why is this Michigan being willing to give up his life by going into Gaza? Or, okay, maybe that we can understand. Going from Russia to the Ukraine, who understands that? Going from North Vietnam to South Vietnam, like who understands that? Like what? The Michigan is like standing in line and getting mowed down so that the guys behind me can help defend the country. There is something, I don't know what that is. Like, it's a crazy part of the Bria, which is a crazy part of the Bria, I'm telling you. Yeah. That people are willing to give up their lives in mass, millions. It's a crazy part of the Bria.
So it's more an intellectual...
you think it's intellectual? Believe me.
It's the same way the Rebbe is explaining it. It's not regesh.
I think it comes from the last sphere of Malchus.
Yeah.
I think that's where it comes from. You agree, yes? Yeah, it's the last sphere of Malchus. But this idea of what's Avodas Hashem, Rabbi Yaacov was saying. Avodas Hashem is that I understand Lama Nivresi. I've come to that conclusion. I'm here for a reason, and I'm whatever it takes. Almanas came, whatever it takes, whether it takes Chol Vavcha, whether it takes V'chol Nafshecha, whether it takes giving money or Bashem Odatzlecha, whether it takes giving up my kavod, whatever it takes. I mean, I'm a soldier. This is my job. So by being willing to take away from my personal creature comfort and give, I'm in love. That's love. So Avodas Hashem means Eved, Lashon Eved. The Indian of Eved is that I'm Mashakana Eved Kana Rabba. I don't have a high madrega, like I say, easy to say, easy to talk about, but it's a high madrega, but it's the madrega. It's the madrega of bittul atzmi towards somebody else. The first place to practice is in your own home, like to love. People, getting married. Getting married for the reason that most people get married, I'm talking about out there, is a bad reason to get married because you're getting married to get. I will be happier if I am married. I will have my dinner made if I am married. I will have intimacy if I'm married. All these things that are personal, but the marriages that simply don't work. Because as much as you call it love, it's not really love. You're not in it till you're loving yourself. So the minute it doesn't work out for yourself, I'm out of here. Unless it's too expensive. So wait a little bit. It's not real. It's not practical. And people these days have realized that it's not even kedai to get married. You can have the same thing without getting married. What do you have? What do you have to get married for? But if we understand nisuyin as a place of ava, like it says in the Ksuva, ava v'achva shruya b'neihem, that there has to be ava. So the ava means that I understand that I'm in this. This is a very big obligation. I'm basically being drafted to the army. Or I'm enlisting myself into the army. But there's a mitzvah to get married. Why is there a mitzvah to get married according to the Rambam? It's a mitzvah to give up of yourself. Like, okay, this is where your ava begins. Have children. This is where your ava begins. Help Klal Yisrael. This is where your ava begins. And just, by the way, it's not something that we're putter from. But we're not talking about chiyuv and putter. What we're talking about here is something much more important than chiyuv and putter. I think much more gishmak than chiyuv and putter. That is, to the degree that one is willing to extend their boundaries towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's Avodas Hashem. And it's not about loving a concept or loving an esoteric being or loving... No, I don't know that we should fool ourselves into thinking like the minute we're starting to picture HaKadosh Baruch Hu and we're hugging him in that way, whether it's through tefillah or his bodedus, I think we're fooling ourselves. What we're talking about here with Ava, maybe there's such a thing, I'm not saying no, but what we're talking about Ava is understanding philosophically that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, created me, I'm here for a purpose. Now do something, you're here for a reason. And it's not just to enjoy. You can enjoy, but there's a mechanism here. It's not like you can enjoy it, there are benefits. But you're here as a soldier. That's what I'm saying.
Someone once said that the end of your comfort zone is the beginning of life. So it's kind of that same concept.
Well said. We weren't created to be comfortable. I just, but comfort is a good thing. I like it. But it's not the purpose of it all. Not the tachlis of it. That sounds obvious. It's not so obvious. Like people are working their whole life so that they can retire.
Right.
Talk about tachlis. I didn't understand the word tachlis yet.
Huh?
I didn't understand the word tachlis. How
You
it
see
is.
tachlis?
Le'ahav is Hashem tachlit ha'ava.
Tachlis means lashon kol.
Kol?
Kol. Klil. Everything. See, akala, by the way. Akala. Lashon tachlis. Klilas yoifi.
Ah.
The ultimate. Ultimate. That's what it means. Kol. Kolel hakol. That's what akala means. So what we're saying is like this. If I can understand, it's so simple really. The logic of this is so simple. If I can extend my boundary, if I can extend my boundaries out of my own comfort to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, meaning my purpose in life and that which I'm supposed to accomplish in life, so then you're a soldier. If you're a soldier, we take care of you. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes care of you, and you were nichnas l'soid hachesed. That's the nakuda. So how do you get to the soid of chesed? By everything that we're doing, every single thing that we're doing as part of our mandate of being created in this world. Now, it doesn't really mean they have to do anything different, hardly. It just means, as I was saying before about retired, like everybody spends their whole life making a living. Like, so when does the it's like, when does the living actually happen? Like, when you get to that part, like making a living. So like what we're saying here is that the living gufa, you don't make a living, whatever I do. Like if I'm a farmer, if I'm a taxi cab driver, if I'm a talmid chacham, whatever I do, I'm doing because this is my job in this big corporation called the world. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants the world. He has a tachlis for the world. He has a purpose for the world. We could go further with this. But the ava is that I'm dedicated. Probably the right word is dedicated. I'm dedicated to this term. Being married means I'm dedicated. I'm loyal. That's what it means. Being dedicated to my children means I'm loyal to my children. That's what I care about. My children come first.
But the difference, let's say, with a soldier, he has a marachet of discipline that tells him if he doesn't do this, then so that's like.
Yeah, but they're willing to kill themselves. Like, what do they have to lose? I mean, it doesn't make.
Like they're so indoctrinated, like into a.
You think it's brainwashing? Do you think that's all?
It's like, I mean, because I'm thinking like it seems to me that it's kind of like a Euro kind of thing. It's not.
Okay, so I don't think it's like that. Let's say the Israeli army. I think there's a feeling of responsibility, dedication, and loyalty. On the most part, I'm sure it's not true with everybody, but on the most part. I read this. I don't know if it's true, and I don't know if anybody knows that it's true, but I read that if they would eliminate the draft in this country and work on a volunteer system, between 80 and 90% of the people that are drafted would volunteer. That's what I don't know if it's true or not. Certainly not true of Haredim. No, I'm not saying anything against them. I'm just saying, but I mean, because they have a different, a different mentality, a different way of thinking about what they're doing for the country, different cog in the wheel, if you will. But I'm just saying, for those to feel that that's their responsibility, so as a bushel, they would do it anyway. So it's really out of ava, not out of year. So the trick here. Let me just show you something just before we even go any further. The Zohar Parshas Vayera says as follows. Vayera is talking about Avram Avinu. So it says as follows: Davar acher raglei chasidav yishmar. Hashem watches the feet, like He watches our back. He watches our feet of the chasidim. B'shaitoi de barnash rachim le'lukud shabrichu. As this lashon of Zohar rings in my ear all the time. B'shaitoi de barnash rachim le'lukud shabrichu. When a person is rachim is the Aramaic word for ava. When a person has ava for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, kudshabrichu rachim le. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has chesed or ava for him. B'chol ma'adiyu of it in anything that you do. Anything you do, your parnasa, your parenting, your vacation, whatever it is. V'natir archayu, and He will guard our path from all evil. Kamada atamar as it says, Hashem yishmor tzeicho vayecha be'ato v'yad elah. Toch chazi, that's the Zohar equivalent of Toshma. Come and see. Kama chavivusa da Avram l'gabe kudshabrichu. How much did Avram Avinu love HaKadosh Baruch Hu? What does it mean? Recognized Hashem hikeres bayroi, and berega shehikeres bayroi, he devoted his life for it. The b'chol asar dahavi azal, because everywhere that he went, lo havi chayish al dilei klum, he never concerned himself with his own needs. Elo begin li stafka be'bekut shabricha, how could I create more dveikus to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? O begin kach, and because he was like that, raglei chasidav yishmar, HaKadosh Baruch Hu watched his raglayim. Where was his raglayim? He walked the right way and he didn't walk the wrong way. V'dahi itzei, and this is how it happened with his wife. D'chsiv Avimelech like karev eleha. Here's his wife, gets kidnapped by the king, Avimelech, and Avimelech has in mind to have intimacy with this beautiful woman, Sarah. And Segedish, like Karav, Avimelech like Karav Eleha Kol Halaylo. Uchsiv ki al kaid loy desaticha ligoya Eleha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it that it just simply was impossible for him to approach Sarah. Vayinaga Hashem es Perek. So the pshat is something remarkable here. We're going to read you the Masek Mitvash in Hebrew. Shebachol bakim shaholach leichosha shal shaloi klum. El kadei listabek by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in order for him to do his task of being mistabek in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as he said earlier, the Zohar Shalukach Oibar Achoisi Hibi B'Mitzrayim B'Gror. He always said, "My wife is my sister." Why did he say, "My wife is my sister"? Like what? It's like one of the strangest things, huh? Like, she's my sister. Okay, so it makes it worse. Why Yarguni El Dvar Yishti. Say it's your wife. Davi Melech said, "Why'd you just tell me she's your wife?" Okay, we're moral people here. What you say? She's my wife. Well, what's my nafkamina? But he's a king. He's a wife. It's a sister. Like what? So Avram Avinu's wife's desire was the Shechina. Avram Avinu was in love with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and his wife was part of that program. And she was his sister, or like a brother and sister in faith.
Doing it together. In other words, when Avram Avinu didn't want to say the words Ishti, I'm not saying that we should take this practice. He didn't want to say the words Ishti because to him, he was so mevatel himself, there was no Ishti. There was the Shechina. I'm doing this here for the world. I was enlightened. Avram Avinu said, Nevuas Hashem, to give her. I'm willing to walk through a hot furnace, a burning furnace for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm willing lech lecha, asar nisyaynais, nisnasa Avram Avinu, achaisi. We're brothers in faith. That's all. We're brother and sister in faith. It's a like hey brother, hey sister, what's happening? that's what it was. Achaisi. It wasn't achaisi a way of tricking up Paro or fooling him. It doesn't make sense. Avram Avinu's wife, says the Zohar, was the Shechina. Wife in the sense that he was willing to give up everything for the Shechina, but his relationship with his wife, which was the most beautiful relationship in the world, was a relationship for the sake of the Shechina. And his walking through the desert was walking for the Shechina. And everything that he did was walking through the Shechina. Basically, there was nothing else but the Shechina of HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
And that's washing his feet, so to speak, in this situation with Sarah. God forbid, Abimelech were to have violated Sarah, but it's still...
Whatever it is.
Because, I don't know, he came towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so he didn't let Abimelech do that, but that wouldn't have changed.
Right, it wouldn't have changed his thinking, right. But what it did change is that because everything that Avram Avinu did was complete bittul for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so now Avimelech couldn't get close to Sarah. It was
in other words, now you just put yourself in the under the light of Chesed. You didn't put yourself under the light of Din, you put yourself under the light of Chesed. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu did Chesed, and the Zohar, as the Zohar says, that a person's wife is considered Raglov, Raglei Chasidav Yishmar. In other words, your wife gets you going, your wife guides you along, coaches you, your Raglayim is where I'm going, what direction I'm headed. That's Ishtay. So Raglei Chasidav Yishmar is HaKadosh Baruch Hu watched not just Avraham Avinu, but watched his wife also. She had her own Ahavas Hashem, but in this case, it was apparently the schus of Avraham Avinu, and here she is, and what's going to happen here? I'm in the suite of the Melech Avi Melech. The answer is nothing's going to happen because Avraham Avinu was an Eved Hashem. Because Avraham Avinu was an Eved Hashem. So the point here is, and the Talmud Devorah goes on to say that the Ava. I read you the Ramak's Pirush on the Zohar, which I have at the bottom of my Talmud Devorah. With this we'll end. A person should never stop thinking about my purpose. Ultimately, it all has to equal the purpose. This sounds like overly religious, right? But it's not. But what I would say is like every decision that a person makes in this world is very simple. Is this a Kiddush Hashem or is it a Chilul Hashem? Are we doing by Tachlis or by not doing Tachlis? What is the Ratzon Hashem?
Am I doing it for me or for him?
Right. So, like sometimes I just know how it applies to me. Like sometimes you're b'machlokus, you get angry at somebody. And you really just, you become punishing, in your mind, like the whole thing is wrong. But then you think, who's gaining from this? I'm protecting my boundaries, but is this really the Ratzon Hashem or not? So you go let go of it. So it's just like if you start thinking, what is the Ratzon Hashem? Sometimes it can be a person's a big Talmud Chacham, have a big shiloh because it's the Kvod Torah, Kvod Hashem, all that. But I'm saying on a personal level. So who's gaining from this anger, from this pirud, from this who's gaining from this politics? Who's gaining from it? Shtuyot, the whole thing. It's shtuyot. The politics. It's all shtuyot. It's who's gaining from this? It's just all shtuyot. Like everybody's arguing about things they don't even know what they're arguing about. Everybody's arguing about the differences between us, and there's hardly any differences at all. It's just shtuyot, But the pshat is that this is Yetzer Hara, meaning I'm doing it for myself. Is it really good for HaKadosh Baruch Hu or is it not? So but he says like this: Listen to these words. Let's say I am fixing the sewer drains in order to be mefarnes myself. That has to be with Avos Hashem. There's no moment where there's a nedar of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kiva shafilu boisam hamaisim hu davak, says the Ramak, and being that even when I'm doing this, the seemingly lowliest of all things, loy yatrid machshavas ha'ava, I'm not leaving the ava. Im came gam kol shabrichu. These are the words of the Ramak. Eina misparid mimenu li'olam. I'm always having a certain level of siyata d'shmai. Nimsa de kutshabrichu hu rachim lei b'chol madi hu avid shein iskay binyanim mahem matrid ava ba'agav urchei kutshabrichu natir urchei b'dvarim mahem gam ken. You see, if you're let me end with this mashal. If you are the shamash of a great celebrity or a great politician or a great billionaire, or you're the driver. So as long as you're the driver and your badge says the driver of so and so, you sit in the first class lounge with him. You'll eat in the fancy restaurants with him. You're his shamus. You're not leaving him, and you get a tremendous amount of benefits and kavod and good stuff. And it could lead you to believe that. Even if I quit this job, I've got the inn in the restaurant, right? So I sit only over here. But you go in without the guy,
sorry, sir, who are you? So like this is just you're only these benefits you're only getting because you're attaching yourself to this person. So it's a you could drive you could drive a $100,000 car, and be a big bacher with it, but you only have that because the guy in the back. So what the point is that like if a person is misbatel themselves to Avas Hashem, so all the benefits are right there, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will have to take care of you because you're by vital employee, vital. Like I can't be without you.
Servant.
Yeah. But the minute you take it for yourself, you're out of that place of chesed. That is did. Are you paying, sir? Are you not paying? Like are you really are you really right to be here or not right to be here? So there's no did if there's chesed. Chesed means that it's a benefit package. Did means what you yourself are deserving. So like the Gemara says that if you want to enjoy the benefits of siyata d'shmaya in this world, yitla b'schus acherim. You should be titled b'schus acherim like that. So let's say a person is. You can even do this in this world. Like if you're b'shavish, let's say in the Zohar it says brought even in Shulchan Aruch. Person's b'shavish, let's say a Talmud Chacham. You find yourself a Talmud Chacham. You're b'shavish a Talmud Chacham. So now you're misbatel. It's like Eliezer Even Avram. He had all the benefits. He was an Even. Well, was an Even, but he came like a prime minister to do the shidduch, bearing gifts. And he got a lot of covet because Eved Avram Anochi. The minute he would have said, "Hey, I'm Eliezer," it doesn't mean anything. The minute Avram Avinu would die, he doesn't mean anything. Where'd he go, Eliezer Avram? Where'd he go? And he tried. He tried to make the shidduch for his own daughter. He tried to. His godless was that he was attached to Avram Avinu. That was his godless. Avram Avinu's godless, he was attached to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So this is so hanichnas knisas ha'adam el soid hachesed. So this is the irony that I think Doran was saying at the beginning. The irony is that how do you get everything? By taking nothing. It's the irony, but okay, life is ironic. That by not taking it b'schus atzmo, you can have everything. So by being mevatel the zich, so then you're making room to get everything. So it's so this is it's an avodah. Be mevatel ourselves to our family, to our tzibur, to our HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to be mevatel yourself to, and whatever you're mevatel yourself, you become part of that. And it's a tremendous chus to do that.
Oh.
Good Erev Shabbos.